welcome into the Starcastic Marks Studios. My name is Ryan. This is Starcastic Marks, the only fan-led Dallas Stars podcast, and this is the after-game review for game number 47 against the Colorado Avalanche, where the Dallas Stars end the Colorado Avalanche's streak at home at 20 games. They made it to 19, but I guess Jake Ottinger specifically would not allow them to get to game 20 where they could get a point. So congratulations to Jake Ottinger. Christian, how you doing tonight? How's it going?
I'm doing great. We're going to start mad, okay? Ottinger started this season in the AHL. That's insane.
You just had to bring that up, didn't you?
Huh?
You just had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was right. Sorry about my lighting. People who are actually on video, my overhead light actually went out. So, yeah, sorry about that.
What happened? Light bulbs?
I have no idea.
Light bulbs? No idea.
Well, they changed my ceiling fan recently for some reason, and then the light went out like 2 days later, so they probably did something wrong.
Is it one of those like really lame, like cheapo?
I don't know. Let's talk about hockey.
So, it's pretty obvious what we should start off with tonight before we get into the goal summary, Chris. Jake Ottinger. I mean, what else can you say?
He stole the hockey game. 100%.
I was not mad at all until you mentioned that. I was fine. And I was just like, okay.
Not bad.
And then you're just like, this dude started in the AHL just because of the fact that Rick Bowness seems to like veterans.
Who knows? Well, anyway, going into Ottinger, his blocker tonight was insane. Almost every big save he had tonight was on that blocker hand. He was punching them all the way across the entire defensive zone. Man, that blocker is crazy. And they kept going to that side, too. What were they doing? They just kept shooting it at the blocker and just kept stopping it every single time.
There must have been some sort of scouting report on him, and that's where their coaches told them to shoot, I guess.
Scouting report.
Well, so let's talk about Jake Ottinger for a second, because some people are like, oh, well, Jake Ottinger is going to be the next Andrei Vasilevsky. And I'm like, okay, let's tap the brakes a little bit on that before we get into it. Should we be excited? Absolutely, 100% yes. If we have a goaltender that can play like that, we should definitely be excited. Did he have a lot of help tonight, though? What do you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're playing a team like the Avalanche, they are one of the best offensive teams that the league has seen in like the past decade. So it's gonna if you're not playing great,
even longer than that.
Yeah, honestly, which if you're not playing great like the Stars weren't, like offensively, we didn't have much other than the power plays. Then you're gonna need great goaltending, and then you're gonna have great defensive play, and they got both of it. So worked out.
Well, I think great goaltending is severely undermining what Jake Ottinger did tonight. Tantalizing, I guess, to take a word from Razor, or mastodonic, extreme, like, I mean, I don't know what else to say about his performance
extreme
tonight. But what did you specifically see from Ottinger tonight that just made you realize that he, I mean, is there any question that he should get a 70%, share of the starts right now, or even more?
Yeah.
Is there any question?
Not really right now. I mean, we're also coming off. Let's kind of, like you said, pump the brakes a little. We're coming off of Holtby letting in 4 goals, and then Otter having the best game he's played as a Star. So keep that in mind as we're talking about this. But it's crazy exciting. The kid has shown that he could be the reason we win games. I've talked about that a lot, especially with the goaltending position. You want it to be the reason you're winning and not just kind of meh, which it has been most of the season. And he definitely was the reason we won this game. And if he can figure out how to keep that mojo and keep it going, then we could make a good run going into getting into a playoff spot, because we see ourselves right now. We were pretty much out of it, about to fall out of the race even completely, and now we're 1 spot away with 2 games at hand. So pretty exciting.
Just some random statistics running through my head while you're talking about all these things. First things first, imagine if we had kept oh my goodness, Toronto goaltender, not Jack
Campbell.
Imagine if we had Jack Campbell and Jake Ottinger right now.
Well, we wouldn't.
Man, I wish.
One of them would have been gone either way.
I guess that's true, but still, And
But I
then
would still take Jack Campbell over Jake Ottinger, honestly, right now.
maybe
mean,
right now, but the fact is there. I mean, there's like a 6-year difference between the two guys, but
yeah.
we're seeing Otter like change before our eyes. We're literally seeing him become the number one starter. Um, I really think this is a step in the direction for Jake Ottinger. It's going to take a lot more games like that, maybe not exactly like this, but a lot more games where he's making some incredible mastodonic, tantalizing saves.
Well, it
Like
is
we
games
saw
like
tonight.
this. It's the being the MVP of your team, and that's what Vasilevsky is, and that's why the Lightning are so consistently good. That's how they won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, is because night in and night out they had the best goalie every single game. And if Otter can find a way to be the best goalie, no matter who he's playing against, no matter what offense he's playing against, that's when he's going to get the Vasilevsky and the Ben Bishop comparisons. He's got all the stuff. He's got the size. He's obviously got the skill from tonight. I mean, he was scrambling all over the place. So if he can figure out how to be the MVP guy, and the one bad thing I had against him, hold on to rebounds, then he's going to be great.
Well, in the first period, he was really holding on to his rebounds. Now, as it went on, there were a couple of bigger rebounds, but that's also a possibility that, Colorado got a little bit smarter with their shot selection. So maybe they were, especially if you shoot low, you're going to get bigger rebounds, right? Because, I mean, you can't suck in a puck from your pads, right?
And they kept going blocker side too, like I was talking about, which you can't catch it with your blocker.
Right. I mean, you can deflect it up into netting or whatever.
And he was doing that while he was punching the puck. Like, it wasn't just he's just stopping with the blocker and it falls in front of him. He was punching it out of the way.
I do want to bring Troy's comment in here. Hey, Troy, thank you for listening to the show. Troy says here, and this was actually where I wanted to go next with this. The kids' projections look great as long as they keep playing hard in front of him. He's definitely the future of the team between the pipes. That's a great point there. His projections do look great, and he is 100% the future of this team in net for many years to come. Fingers crossed. But the thing I really want to point out is, yes, he was great tonight, but the Stars also completely changed their mindset tonight. Compared to the other game, and they fought harder. They've played the way they had to when they knew they weren't going to outplay this team. They knew this team was better than them, and this is the way you beat a team like this. And they played fantastically hard in front of Jake Ottinger tonight. Now, Jake Ottinger bailed them out. I wouldn't even say a dozen times or more tonight. But there were, I'm specifically thinking, I'll say a good positive thing about John Klingberg tonight. There was that real obvious chance in the third period where it was wide open. There was no way Jake Ottinger was going to get to that, even with the game that he had. And John Klingberg was able to get that puck into the corner. They just played, in general, fantastic tonight. And the other thing that was running through my head statistically was the amount of block shots tonight for the Stars. Over 30 block shots for the Dallas Stars tonight. And they really committed to how they played tonight. And then Jake Ottinger also stood on his head. And they talked about that in the pregame, is that, like, you have to have those two things along with a couple of other things that we'll talk about later. But what did you think about the team's play in front of Otter tonight?
Yeah, specifically in front of Otter, they played great. Defensively in their own zone, especially when the Avalanche were going through their cycle, were on the power play. It was great. I totally agree. Klingberg especially had a great defensive night tonight. I mean, he won almost every single puck battle. His stick checks were great all over the place. I saw one bad pass out of the defensive zone from him. So defensively, he was very good. Unfortunately, that's where the good things about the Stars kind of stopped, other than the first line. So once they got out of their own zone, which was very difficult at times, it was not good from there.
In their defense, though, they played way better on that part of the puck. I complained about that all day on Sunday afternoon.
And the better that we're talking about is they played harder. Like, that's all it is.
That's all it was, yeah.
They won almost every single puck battle in their own zone, and Razor kept saying the word hungry over and over again. They were hungrier for the puck than the Avalanche were on almost every single play. So, and that's what you have to do against an offensive team like that, or else they're going to fillet you.
Now, obviously, this is not going to work every single game, right? I mean, you can't ask.
It shouldn't have worked this game. This is a stolen game.
It shouldn't have worked at all, I guess. Yeah. But the nice thing about this is that we've been looking for something like this whole season, right? And as good as Holtby has been, and he's made some. I mean, I'm thinking of that trio of saves that he made. That one of those three should have gone in. That was way back in November or even October or somewhere in the beginning of the season. But we didn't really have like a definitive game where we said, okay, we're not playing great, or we're going to play this style, and our goalie stood on our head and stole the game for us. And this is like the first time I feel like in, since Anton Hudobin in the bubble playoffs that I felt like a team, like a goaltender stole a game for the Dallas Stars. And that's really, really important.
And the stats back you up on that. I mean, our goals against average, the past 2 seasons with Hudobin and Ben Bishop as kind of the duo, our goals are, I think it's this, our save percentage has been great, as well as our goals against average. This year, both the goals against average and save percentage are dipped below average, so dipped below midway point, like as a team. So both, or I guess all three, Hudobin, Holtby, and Ottinger. And I feel like when we started talking about the season, we were talking about one of the goalies has to kind of rise above the rest and take the reins of the team, and that really hasn't happened. It still hasn't happened tonight. I mean, Otter is still in and out between Holtby. It looks right now like Otter is in a good spot to take it, but he has to keep showing it over the next 5-10 games to fully take the reins from it. So it's not 100% Otter right now, but it's a great start for what it could be.
Random question, because it just popped into my head, because we always complain about this, and now I'm starting to think is that maybe as the Stars fans we're wrong. Okay, and I'm thinking about 3 players in particular. I'm thinking about Rope Hintz, I'm thinking about Jason Robertson, and I'm thinking about Jake Ottinger. Okay, all young guys, and we were constantly complaining about, as Dallas Stars fans, that these guys are not getting enough opportunities, right? And the only way that these guys were able to, make their way onto the NHL roster was basically they were forced. They forced the Jim Nill's hand, and they forced, Rick Bonus's hand, or whoever was the coach at the time. Were they right? With the way that Jim Nill and Rick Bonus, are they doing this?
Otter started in the AHL. He wasn't supposed to play this year if everything worked the way they wanted it to. So he did the same thing. He forced his way onto the roster because he was playing better than the other goalies. So it's not that, they're right and they got the stick-to-itiveness, and no, I think that's garbage. I mean, I think they made the wrong decision. I think we would have won more games in the beginning of the season if Otter was our number one, which he is right now.
And he definitely deserves to be playing a lion's share of the starts right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and get to the goal summary, and we'll talk about a couple of other things, because there's a couple of other good things that we need to talk about tonight with the Stars. In the first period, it was, especially in the first 10 minutes, it was nothing but the Dallas Otters versus the Colorado Avalanche. It was all Jake Ottinger, just save after save after save after positioning, and
Dallas
that's
Otters,
when,
I call it.
Yep, and the Stars looked especially flat in that first period. They didn't look terrible. They were still playing decent, defensively in front of Jake Ottinger, but he was definitely, bailing them out time after time after time in that first period. But the first period would go on, and the Stars would get a power play, which we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a second. And then Joe Pavelski would score his 20th of the season from Robertson and Sagan, and that puts the Stars up 1-0 in a period that they definitely did not deserve to be leading into going into the first intermission.
And they started doing better after the first TV timeout. So I looked at my phone and I saw, the shots are 14-0. I was like, that doesn't sound good. But I mean, they turned the shots around a little bit towards the end. So good, I guess, at the end of the period at least. And they drew the penalty. And man, that power play, they filleted them. It was not even, they had no chance. They were just pylons out there. It was so sweet.
It was fantastic to watch the power play tonight, which I wish they were more consistent. But
yeah,
I'm not going to complain about it tonight.
One game and none the next game, or I guess we had spells where we had none for 5 games. So
Yeah, it feels like we score 2 or more or none at all. It seems
yeah,
like, unless we get like one power play that night, we happen to score on it or something. So just like I said, going into the first intermission, Stars are up 1-0. Literally, it was completely dominated by the Colorado Avalanche in that first period. 18 and a half minutes, the Colorado Avalanche should have scored a goal, but Jake Ottinger said no. Going into the second period, Robertson would get his 21st of the year from Pavelski and from Hakanpää off of a broken play in which Pavel Francouz, the goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche, kind of screwed up a little bit, and it's 2-0 Stars.
it was a broken play, but what a play by Pavelski! Like he was so strong on that puck. Great assist right on the tape. It was sweet.
I shouldn't take that away from them at all.
Oh yeah,
but
amazing assist.
It was an amazing pass, and it was a great shot too. And I mean, it's that first line again. That is the identity of this team right now, is that first line. However, about a little less than a minute later, Nathan MacKinnon would get his 10th of the year from Cale Makar and Alex Newhook, which I like Newhook. He's a good player. He doesn't get all the flashy stuff like the rest of the Colorado Avalanche, but I noticed him a lot on the ice tonight. But I guess the big question with that goal, with Nathan MacKinnon's goal, he had a lot of area and a lot of room to take that shot. Was it goaltender interference?
It would have been. It's a 50-50. I mean, every goaltender interference right now is 50-50. No one knows what the rule is. So if this was a game tying goal at the end of the game, or a goal to take the lead, we more than likely would challenge it. But since it was just to pull within one, that's why they didn't challenge it, I think. So I think yes, if you make me pick, but who knows, honestly.
See, I really didn't think it was much of a goaltender interference, and it's very smart that the Stars did not do that, because
that
could have
changed. Have
changed
done it at all. Yeah, the timing is correct to not challenge it.
Yeah, even if you were like 99% sure, and there was that 1% chance, you
probably still wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, still,
with the way goaltender interference is right now, at least, because it's garbage.
Well, it definitely seemed like Otter thought that it was goaltender interference, but Harley looked like he kind of shoved him in, maybe even a little bit.
He pushed him back, and the Avs player conveniently fell on him. So,
and that would be the only one that would get past Jake Ottinger in this game tonight. And I mean, you could argue that if he had the ability to make that full save, maybe it was goaltender interference. Maybe he would have had a shutout tonight. And I'll go ahead and say it as well. It always seems like that when Otter is doing really well, there's always at least that one goal that gets in, and he can never seem to get the shutout, which sucks. But it is what it is.
He's only had one shutout, right? And it's when they only took like 20 shots on him.
I think, it was a game that the Stars dominated, and he was just basically standing there. So, but the Stars would get another power play a little later on in the period, and Joe Pavelski would again put it in, his 21st of the year, and he now co-leads the Dallas Stars with the other two line mates that he has with 21 goals. And that goal comes from Tyler Seguin and Rope Hintz. Stars are up 3-1. What the heck? I feel like we're losing, yet we're up 3-1. We're winning by 2 goals.
And that was the exact same thing as the first power play. I mean, Colorado stood no chance against it. Like, they were just looking around. It was so good. Great passing. And, I mean, the whole build between McKinnon's goal and the Joe Pavelski goal, the Stars played really well during that stretch, too. I mean, we really deserved that power play. And the second period was, I feel like, we won the score, but we won that period too. I mean, we played better than the Avalanche, and they were just kind of lobbing shots at Otter that period.
Yeah, I was going to go straight into that, actually. You read my mind. During the course of the second period, it was much more even, and the Stars seemed to push a little bit more. And especially at the beginning of that period, I really noticed they're like, okay, Otter's really bailed us out here. We need to get him something. And it was especially around like the 18 minutes and 30 seconds left in the period, that first minute and a half, I really noticed that the Stars were really pushing. And I liked how they played. I liked how they played in that second period. I would have liked to see a little bit less shots on Otter, but, It is what it is.
I
He
mean,
handled
the
it.
shots in the second period, we'll give him those. I mean, they didn't have a great chance that second period. I don't think, if I remember correct.
They still had some decent chances. They had grade A opportunities in that second period. So, but anyways, so going into second intermission, Stars are up 3-1, and I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good about how they were playing, especially that second period. But
I
again,
didn't.
you have you have to tap the brakes when it's the NHL's best team and it's only a 2-goal lead. Even with a 3-goal lead, I still wouldn't have felt super comfortable with it 100%. So third period. Tell me your thoughts about the third period. What did you think?
I was almost certain we were going to blow the lead. I mean, it's the best offensive team, like we said, in a long time, and we are getting severely outplayed for the most part, and our goaltender's just playing great. And the last time he was playing well, he kind of blew the lead in the third period too. It wasn't him specifically, but you know, same deal. So I wasn't very hopeful, but the Stars played good defensively. I wish they would have done more counterattacking than just staying back, because it's a miracle they didn't score. They had so many chances, and Otter was just better than all of them. So I wish, because there was a couple of more chances where we defended the rush well, and we could have turned it right back around and taken one the other way, which I think would totally be worth it, because a goal there kind of ices the thing, really.
Mhm.
So I wish they would have done that more. They kind of went into turtle, but again, they were playing well defensively. Otter was playing well, so it worked.
I don't like the way they played, but I like the outcome. How about that? Is that fair enough to say?
And their defense was still good. I mean, it was aggressive defensively. I mean, we've talked about it already, but they played well defensively in their own zone all night. It just, the offensive side in the neutral zone was not great.
And then just to kind of put a bow on this, Tyler Seguin, he gets the empty netter, 16th of the year from Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski is in every single goal, I believe, tonight. Yep. So he gets 4 points after, I didn't even realize it, but the whole homestand, no points from Joe Pavelski. Surprising, very surprising. And then he explodes tonight in a game that we really needed him to do so. And
real quick, Sagan scoring the empty netter is huge. I mean, 6-on-5 was a problem for us for a long time, and the past 2.5 weeks, it hasn't been. We've been much more aggressive on the 6-on-5 defense, and it's been great. We've scored goals pretty much every single time we've had a 6-on-5 situation. So I've been much happier with that as of recently.
Yep. And, I think it was Razor who alluded to this, because I was literally thinking the exact same thing in the third period, because I was a little worried because the Stars had a lead that they didn't deserve, in my opinion, to have, other than Otter. They were up 3-1, and it made me think of the Vegas Golden Knights game several weeks ago. And Troy actually, yeah, Troy just said something. Sorry, Troy, I kind of stole your thunder there a little bit. But it made me think about that game, and then as soon as Razor mentioned it, I was like, oh crap. I was like, there's gonna be some sort of, karma coming from that comment.
I audibly said, why did he say that?
I know. It's like, crap. But thank goodness it did not go that way, and the Stars were able to complete the victory here tonight with a final score of 4-1 on the backs of Joe Pavelski, but especially tonight, the play of young Jay Cottinger, who is really starting to, kind of evolve into this, number one goaltender that we're talking about. So hopefully that continues, and maybe like we've said, he gets more of the lion's share of the starts.
And it's a big road trip still that we're on, so he's got lots to prove.
Right, and not to mention just the fact that, he normally plays at home, right? He has a great record at home. He's like 12-3-1, I think. And wow, what a game to say, hey, I'm not just a home goaltender.
Yeah, well, Bones mentioned this before the road trip started. I think it was even before the last Colorado game at home. He was saying, we've kind of been protecting Otter. I mean, playing him only at home where he's comfortable and everything like that. But he's going to start getting more of the starts, and we're going to start playing him a lot more on the road because we need him there. And it's a great response for him. It's a great mental relief for the coaching staff, I think. So they'll be more prone to put him out there. It's just a great overall start to a road trip that we need to get lots of points on. we've played very well as of recently, and it's got to keep happening.
Right. And it's just fantastic the fact that that you can rely on somebody like that. You have that extra security blanket, and it would be really nice to see both Holtby and Otter really start to push and make it hard for the coaching staff to make a decision. And Otter's made it even harder because I think it was, I forgot who it was. Someone said that they were going to rip off the Band-Aid for Jake Ottinger, and that protection, like you said, was no longer going to be there. And dude, I mean, not that I'm not happy.
Off sooner.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. So, but let's go ahead and point out another point of the game tonight that I thought deserves recognition, because we haven't really talked about it a ton. We talked about it a little bit. But how about the special teams tonight? Special teams,
specifically the penalty kill.
Yes,
that's what we haven't talked about yet.
Definitely took care of business tonight.
The best power play in the league, and we essentially got him 0 for 3, which was great. And it was good defending all around too. The penalty kills, it wasn't just Otter. So for the majority of the 5-on-5 game, Otter was doing a lot of heavy lifting. The PK was just sound. It was solid.
And I liked what they were doing. They were actually seemed to be pressuring the Colorado Avalanche more than they have been over not just their opponents, not just the Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
But they were when they saw that the puck was not fully controlled by the Colorado Avalanche, they were like pressing on them just a little bit, not enough to get them out of position, but enough to make them, second guess themselves, their opponents to second guess themselves. That's exactly what they need to do. That
it's selective pressure, because like whenever they just bobble the puck a little bit, you jump on them and you make them have to make a play while their mind is already scrambling. That's the time you got to go after them, is when they're already flustered. And yeah, totally agree with you there.
And just great plays all around there. I mean, blocks by Radulov, big blocks by Robertson. He was even on the penalty kill a little bit tonight, I think. And just the big guys for the Stars tonight were Hintz and Pavelski, especially Hintz on the defensive side of the puck. We don't really see him
well defensively
tonight on the offensive side, other than I think he got the one assist.
Yep, maybe. He got a secondary on Joe's third.
Yes, second. Okay, right. So he got the secondary assist, but that's a part of his game that doesn't really get talked about very much. Robe Hintz. We talk about his speed, we talk about his offense, and the fact that he looks like the elite forward that we've been trying to talk to him about and try to get him to become. And we don't talk enough about the fact that he really is a full two-way player.
And it's both of the young guys on that top line. I mean, Robo is great defensively as well. We talked about his back checking, how good that is, and it still is good. And Hintz, and we saw a little bit of Robo on the PK too. They're good enough to play power play, 5-on-5, and penalty kill. They're just all-around guys.
And it's just fantastic to watch how that game went over tonight for the penalty kill. And then on the flip side, you've got the power play, which looked absolutely excellent tonight.
Yeah.
And especially, I can't remember which goal it was, if it was the first or second power play goal, but when they were basically just going back and forth. And I think it was the first one. And that was beautiful. I loved seeing that. Absolutely great, crisp passing, and Joe Pavelski ended it up. And, I don't care what, Sevy says. The tic-tac-Joe, I loved it. I loved it, Brian Ray.
No.
Hashtag tic-tac-toe. Joe, excuse me. I already screwed it up. Anyways, but still, just great overall from the power play tonight. They were moving the puck tonight, and they were getting interior position rather than just, along the perimeter or anything. And one of the things we complained about on Sunday was the fact that the only kind of shots they were getting, period, was from the outside, was from the perimeter. And that didn't happen tonight at all. So especially
2 shots on the power play, 2 goals, both of them right in front of the grease.
Right.
Or in the grease.
Anything else we need to mention specifically about special teams?
No, I mean, Klingberg continues to quietly do very well on special teams. I mean, he's not scoring like we need. Well, the whole D-core isn't really scoring like we need them to, honestly. Mm-hmm. But they're still getting solid assists. They played all the defensemen played really well tonight defensively. I mean, especially I love having Thomas. Is it Thomas Harley? Is that right?
Thomas Harley. Mm-hmm.
I love having him in. Just the little bit of extra size he has is just so nice. So I hope he can stick around a little bit longer than a few games. So
Well, and one of the interesting things actually from last night is that he played about 16 minutes.
he played a lot.
Or last night, Sunday night.
Yeah.
And not so much tonight. He kind of relied on the top guys tonight because of the situation of the game. But still, it is nice to see, especially with Sekera being out. And I thought it was interesting that he got put in over Joel Hanley, and Joel Hanley was actually the healthy scratch. So that kind of tells you something about, maybe the coaching staff is starting to, trust him a little bit more. I know he's still on the third pairing, but still, with this whole Klingberg talk of him possibly be getting traded, or most likely being traded, he looks like he's going to be the guy that's going to fill in those shoes, at least.
It's not most likely. If we stay on the path we're going right now, we're 7-2 in the last 10. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be staying on the Stars at least till the end of the season. So,
right. And
let's not say probably.
And you kind of already talked about Klingberg a little bit, but let me talk about him a little bit because I've been really harsh on him the last couple of weeks. And I want to take 2 steps back on this because, one, he was absolutely fantastic tonight. He still had some defensive miscues, but he way more made up for it with the good defensive plays that he did have tonight.
When you play 24 minutes, it's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And maybe I'm being too harsh on him, and I would just noticing it more just because I'm looking for it. But the other thing is that since he missed the game on Sunday, it was really obvious how much the Stars missed John Klingberg on the power play. I mean, it's obvious. No goals at all, period, on the power. We had our opportunities on Sunday. We have 3 or 4 tonight, and we scored 2 goals.
Well, so we had 2. We only had 2 2-minute power plays. The other one was cut short.
So I mean, you really, that's too obvious. That's not just a coincidence, in my opinion.
And it's not just that either. His movement through the neutral zone, he's better than Heiskanen at moving through the neutral zone with passes at least. Heiskanen's a better skater, but Klingberg just knows where to put the puck when the whole team is moving through the neutral zone, and he just gets the play going. And stuff like that, it's not noticeable on the stat sheet, but whenever he's gone, whenever he's most likely gone next year, we're gonna notice it a lot. I think.
I hope not. And as much as I've been harping on him, I've still been saying that I really want to keep him, and I hope he stays. And the other thing about it is that it appears that he's hurt. So he's got. I mean, if he's only missing 1 game in between or something, he's got to have some kind of nagging injury that's kind of bothering him. And it kind of sounds like he's kind of playing through it. So maybe that's the other reason why he's having a little bit more defensive miscues is because he's just not feeling good. He's got some sort of injury or something. So I'm going to back off on John Klingberg for a little while. So that's just me on that and how I feel. But just to throw some stats at you guys, the ending stats for tonight's game. Before we close this out tonight, shots on goal, 47-20 in favor of the Colorado Avalanche, 14-7 in the first, 16-7 in the second, 17-6 in the third. Oh my gosh. That's just ridiculous saying that. Face-off percentage, 57-43 in favor of the Stars.
That was big all night for the Stars. Lots of key face-offs we won too.
And, one of the things they talked about was the fact that the Colorado Avalanche, as much as, as good as they are on a lot of things, 29th in the league in faceoff percentage.
And that and penalty kill can be a huge reason why they might not be great in the postseason too.
Right.
So,
and on the power play, Stars 2 for 3, 0 for 4 for the Colorado Avalanche. There's the game right there along with Otter. Hits, not an overly physical game tonight, but 23-20. And then block shots, 29-10. 29-10. Huge, huge stat to take away from this game for the Dallas Stars. And Stars win 4-1. Anything else we need to mention tonight, Chris?
It's a great response from last night. It's a great start to the road trip. And boy, howdy, are we going to need it because this road trip is stacked.
I definitely think it gets a little easier after this game tonight. So
gets
So
easier, but the points are crazy important.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're like must win right now, but we're
No,
definitely
yeah.
getting close.
Yeah,
We're
we're getting close.
definitely getting close.
Honestly, it might be must win for if we're sellers or not. Because if we lose more than half of the next 10 or so games, you might not have a Pavelski, you might not have a Klingberg,
Oh my
you might
gosh. Can
not
you
have a
imagine?
Radulov. At that point, your season's done.
Wow.
So if we're not there and we're sellers, then if Neil's not an idiot, then he's selling big time.
Right. I hope that's not the case because this is it. Like we've said
Right now, it
for
doesn't look like
2
it's the
years
case. We're
now.
trending in the right direction.
So anyway, just the upcoming games for the Stars. We're off for 2 days. On Friday night, we got Chicago.
Must win.
That's a must win that we should win. On Sunday night, we're against Arizona. That is an absolute must win.
You see their awesome new arena?
Don't get me started on that. We'll talk about that another time. And then we have a weird, a weird home game on Wednesday against Winnipeg, and then we immediately go on the road the next day on next Thursday, and go against Nashville in Tennessee. So these next couple of games, I mean, you could
3 out of
very
4.
easily see yourself winning 3 of 4. Yeah, they're like
They
like you
should
said.
win 3 of 4.
And it'd be nice if they could win 4 of 4, but that's just not to be, expected. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna lose games. This is a game that I definitely saw us losing tonight. Definitely did, especially after 17-0-2. That is insane. I mean, hats off to Colorado for being able to do that at home. That's
Speaking
insane.
of all the streaks we broke, their home point streak, the 17-0 and whatever, like however many player point streaks they had, which I'm sure was a billion.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. And somehow McKinnon still scores on us. Gosh dang.
That guy is just so good.
He's so good
That's
at hockey.
ridiculous.
It's so annoying. They have so many people who would be the best player on our team immediately if they were on our team.
Right.
It's so frustrating.
I mean, you could. I mean, think about any of like the top 5. Like
Kadri, easily the best on our team.
McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog,
best
McCarr
defenseman immediately, and we think we have a great blue line.
Devon Taves, who was their second best defenseman, would probably become he would be our second best defenseman on our team,
probably,
which is absolutely insane. But anyways, yeah, I don't want to end the show on a sad note, but we'll go ahead and answer this question because Brandon is a loyal listener of the show. Thank you, Brandon, for listening. If Klinger does leave, Chris, where do you see him going?
You go first. Let me think.
I've actually put a lot of thought into this, and it just makes a lot of sense if he is going to be traded, which I hope he doesn't. I think he will, go out his contract. Troy says Boston. That could make a lot of sense, but in my honest opinion, I think he's going to Toronto. Because Toronto, I mean, just from a fan perspective, I would love to see Nick Robertson come this way and reunite the Robertson brothers. That would be really cool.
That would be
and that's just from a fan's perspective. But if you look at Boston, you got Boston on my brain. If you look at Toronto, they've really got 3 guys in their top 4 that are pretty solid, and they're just missing that 4th guy. I don't know if Klingberg could fill that spot, but it makes an awful lot of sense for him to be in that top 4 over there. And I mean, Toronto is more than willing to part with draft picks or with just about anything to get the players that they need. And they're definitely looking to at least get past the first round. So I think they'll be desperate to give us whatever we want if we are going to end up selling him off to Toronto. And that's just where it just makes sense to me.
Yeah. You went Eastern Conference, I'll go Western Conference. 2 teams trying to get over different humps. Calgary trying to get into a contender spot.
Oh, that's a good pick too.
I don't know exactly what they have that they could give us. I mean, honestly, a first-round draft pick and 2 prospects is probably plenty for a rental Klingberg. But I think that's a good option. And then Edmonton too. I mean, just having somebody solid on the back end. that could be huge. Don't know what kind of cap space they have, but
Right. So
I'm sure they can make it work.
Yeah, we haven't really looked too much into it. Maybe we should do that a little more. And because
No, I don't
I
wanna
mean,
think about it.
whatever trade deadline deals we see is going to be a three team trade, and like this team over here trades this team, but it goes through this team, and this team gets like a first round draft pick because they take money or whatever. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
But hopefully,
if we lose 6 of the next 10, we'll get back to you.
Yep. But at least for right now, guys, it looks like that the Stars are kind of trending in the right direction. Thank you, Jake Ottinger. Thank you, Joe Pavelski. And I guess we'll have to hope and see how this goes. So I think we're going to cut it off there tonight, guys. Thank you all for listening once again. This has been the after game review for Game 47 against the Colorado Avalanche at their home, where the Stars become streak slayers again. We've been saying that a lot this year. And they end the home winning point streak for the Colorado Avalanche, and it ends at 19 for them. And the Stars get the full 2 points here tonight. Thank you. And I forgot to do it at the beginning, but thank you, DraftKings, for being the sponsor of our podcast and the entire Hockey Podcast Network. Please go and use the promo code THPN the next time you go and use their app for a special little offer from them. There's always something good that they have going on, and that also lets them know we're the ones that sent you, and we really appreciate that. We get a little bit out of that for doing that for them. Chris, what are you doing? You're bothering me with your hand thing.
GG, boys.
Okay, that's what you're aiming for. Okay. All right, guys. We hope you guys have a fantastic evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're listening to this. And we will catch you guys on the flip side. We'll see you on Friday night. Have a good night.